Part 64. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 632. With a swoosh, this time, Sci-Fi's thoughts completely stopped turning. Her always smart and developed brain turned a few times with a bang 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 bang, and declared a crash. The surrounding temperature is rising faster. She could clearly feel his body temperature, which came continuously through the clothes. He has always been unsmiling, cold as snow, and never revealed his emotions and anger. He is the person she has ever met who can control her emotions best. Restraint and control are still above her senior brother and master. But at this time, he looked at her, and there was only the shadow of her in his light-colored eyes. There was no indistinguishable emotion, only a deepening smile remained. Sci-Fi suddenly remembered what Chu Lingyun taught her. When you like someone, you can't hide your love even in your eyes. She could see how much he liked and loved her. Can't be fake. Sci-Fi's brain was still heating up. I still have. Uzian was not in a hurry either, waiting patiently for her, and the other hand even took time to help her fasten her seat belt. Don't worry, think slowly. From the beginning to the end, his expression was calm, and there was still no flaw. But only God knows that from the early morning until now, he used almost all his restraint to suppress the almost bursting emotions in his heart. And this emotion surged up again after seeing her, and it kept hitting his heart like a stormy sea. It turned out that there is such a person, and he will be happy when he looks at it from a distance. In the previous life, he never thought about his own affairs. It was his only goal to pacify the war in the 5 states of Daxia, and it was also his lifelong belief. He has sat on the throne for 13 years, and he has never been a kind person, and he will do anything to achieve his goals. What he wants, he will get. The person he wants, from the beginning, can only be his. After 3 full minutes, Sci-Fi finally cooled the overheated brain host. She couldn't resist his gaze, and turned her head slightly. I also want to know when you started. Uzian didn't answer, and said in a low voice, do you remember that you owe me a lot? Do you remember how many times? The word owes made Sci-Fi's brain cells active again. She was conditioned and very vigilant. I have no money. Well, I know. Uzian gave a low smile. He stretched out his hand, and his slender fingers gently tucked her hair that was on her forehead behind her ear. A very gentlemanly and polite action, but it made him feel extremely bewitched. Sci-Fi heard her heart pounding again, jumped out of her chest, and burst. So, ching ching. He lowered his head and rubbed the tip of her nose lightly, with a faint smile in his voice. You can only sell yourself to me. Sci-Fi's fox eyes widened slightly for the first time. You set me up. High-end hunters often appear in the form of prey. She's the head of T18's operations department, and she often does this when she's out on a mission. But she really didn't expect that she would become the prey. Sci-Fi pushed him angrily. It's not a routine. Uzian paused and sighed. I'm afraid, ching ching, I'm very afraid. Sci-Fi glanced at him. What are you afraid of? I don't know what you've been through, but you must have had a lot of pain. Uzian was silent for a moment. I'm afraid that you will choose to stay far away after you sense my intentions. Sci-Fi was slightly startled. Indeed. Ye Wanlan's death made her dare not open her heart again. She would rather hide in a corner and lick her wounds silently, rather than revealing it all to others. He stared at her and said softly, you didn't know how happy I was when I found out that you finally had feelings for me. He never believed in fate. Fate is always in his hands. But in the matter of loving her, he would actually choose to seek the illusory gods and Buddhas, and give her a predestined relationship. Sci-Fi didn't push him away, and her head was buried in his chest. She heard his steady and powerful heartbeat, but it suddenly accelerated after she leaned over. After a few seconds, she said in a muffled voice, you haven't chased me, Why did you confess first? His voice came from the top of her head, and she felt his chest vibrate slightly. The girl really has no conscience. I haven't chased you yet. The previous ones don't count. I fucking blinked. I'm super hard to catch up, and most people can't catch up. Uzian's brows moved slightly, and the smile filled his eyes again. Don't laugh, I fucking was fierce, I'm serious. Well, he rubbed her head, still smiling. Chasing you. It's done. I fucking's eyes lit up, and he immediately took out his phone and changed a note for him. Pursue my gold master. Is there a deadline? Uzian started the car. How can there be a deadline for chasing a girl? It depends on whether you take it seriously. I fucking added, it also depends on my mood. Now I'm hungry and I'm going to eat. She finally pulled back a game. At 8 o'clock in the evening, I fucking returned to the villa with flowers. She trimmed the flower, inserted it into the vase in the bedroom, and stared at the flower in a daze. Dong dong dong. Yujian sat on the windowsill and knocked on the window. Looking at your appearance, did you turn your hand? I fucking turned her head. Her face was slightly hot. She whispered, I've turned. He hasn't. Okay, Xiaju. Yujian raised his eyebrows. I thought you would surrender your gun first, but you persisted. Recalling Uzian's attack on her in the car, I fucking said unsatisfactorily, actually, I didn't hold on very much. Seeing Yujian's eyebrows raised even higher, with a playful look, I fucking coughed lightly, clenched his fist, and said loudly, but I will definitely persist for 2 more days, and I can't lose the face of our T18. Yujian tooted, senior sister supports you with all my strength, but I can't guarantee your brothers. Be careful that they won't fight with your boyfriend. I fucking. This is a problem. But it's okay, she can protect him. At 10 o'clock, the voice of special concern sounded again. Is a voice. I fucking opened it, and a light and low voice sounded. Good night, ching ching. She had never felt his voice so good, like notes jumping on the tip of her heart. I fucking cautiously clicked on the voice bar again, and his warm and smiling voice sounded again. She listened to it over and over again, and fell asleep holding the phone again. After Xiaobai covered her with a quilt, he lay down on the windowsill and looked at the stars very sadly. The dog owner is off the single, only it is still a real single dog. The next day, I fucking came to the crew with 2 dark circles under his eyes. Fortunately, Tsukimi's makeup skills were superb, and she easily covered her panda eyes. Seeing that she was still so dedicated to filming, Chu Lingyun couldn't bear it any longer. Go, go, go and play with your boyfriend for 2 days. Don't come to the door and tell me that I'm harassing you. It's not a boyfriend. I fucking held his chin. I have to let him chase him for a while. Chu Lingyun. Maybe he's old. He really has a toothache. Days and nights passed, and I fucking did not have any clarification. The moose were all wailing, and kept guessing who their rival was. There is also no lack of black powder yin and yang, sneering and sarcastic. I fucking sprain. Disabled fans can serve snacks. Be careful that your sister's career will collapse when she falls in love at such a young age. She is still on the rise in her career, and she doesn't want to work hard and fall in love. The mooses were worried that they had no place to exert their fighting power, and instantly rushed a few black fans to the pin number to run away. I fucking didn't pay attention to the comments on the internet. While filming, she did not fall behind on the subject of Xia University's Department of Archaeology. The old professor asked her to choose any topic. After thinking about it, she chose the historical figure Yin Huang. It is undeniable that there can be countless numbers on the wall, but the big life must not be shaken. I fucking picked up the pen and began to list the arguments she was going to write. Writing and writing, when she came to her senses, the arguments on the paper had been replaced by the names 11 Hung and Shi Yan. I fucking fell silent. She folded the paper to the extent that she could no longer fold it, and then stuffed it into her bag. Just at this moment, the mobile phone ding. This is a message of special concern. Pursuit of my gold master, what are you doing? Sci-fucking, I didn't miss you anyway. Pursuing my gold master, well, I'm thinking of you. Sci-fu leaned a little unsteadily, and clasped the phone on the table. She exhaled slowly, and once again realized what a hot heart is. In just one day, Yu Zion's noble image in her heart no longer existed. How can a person who is deeply restrained suddenly become so straight? White? She couldn't resist for a while. Ching ching, why is your face so red? Sang Yanking pushed open the door of the lounge, walked in, and handed her a bottle of water with concern. Is it hot? Sci-fucking expressionlessly pulled out a mask and put it on himself. Sang Yanking suddenly realized, Mr. Yu is coming to pick you up, right? Are you really keeping it private? It's okay if you keep it private, I can still give you PR when it's photographed. She couldn't wait. Sci-fucking stood up and rubbed his face. No, Gu Lao came to me, I'll go to him. Gu Huiyan came from Machin to discuss with Sci-fucking about the archaeological team. While he was chatting hotly with his apprentice, the door was knocked at this moment. Gu Huiyan shouted, come in. He originally thought that the assistant was here to deliver something, but who knew it was Yu Zion? Gu Huiyan glared, what are you doing here? Why are you so haunted? I'm talking to my apprentice about business, you go. Although Yu Zion took back a lot of cultural relics from abroad and donated them to the TND Alliance, every time he saw Yu Zion, he always felt that this was a grey wolf, and he would take his apprentice away in the next second. Gu Huiyan had to be vigilant. Yu Zion smiled lightly, you detained my girlfriend here, I came here naturally to ask for someone. Continue to ask your majesty for a monthly pass. How long can Ching Ching last? Ching Ching, don't underestimate me. Speaking of your majesty's confession, I had already thought about it before I opened the book. Finally, my good son-in-law is not easy for him. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 633. The air is still at this moment. Sci-fucking's back straightened, she raised her head subconsciously, and when she met his calm eyes with a deep smile, her heart suddenly began to heat. Thump, thump, thump. The speed has also increased. Even before their minds were revealed, they often looked at each other, and even played a small game where whoever moves first loses, but she has never felt such a magical feeling. Her emotions, her heartbeat, and her gaze were constantly being pulled by him. Gu Huiyan clutched his chest, a little breathless. He couldn't believe his ears, and his eyes widened. What's your name? In just a few days of work, this kid has already succeeded in ascending the position? Gu Huiyan looked at Sci-fucking tremblingly. Tour, are you off the list? No, Sci-fucking's attention was drawn back, she turned her head, I haven't agreed yet. Yes, Yu Zion smiled, I'm still chasing her, so I can't slack off. Gu Huiyan. Ruined. He has come here, how could he not understand this kind of thing? After all, his apprentice was taken away by this black-hearted grey wolf. I knew it for a long time, Gu Huiyan said angrily, it was obvious what you had in mind at the beginning. I think this girl is very interested in you, but it is not a relationship between a man and a woman. I am relieved, but the result is still, He sighed heavily and waved angrily, let's go. Yu Zion nodded, thank you, master. He stepped forward and stretched out his hand towards the girl, let's go, Feng San has made a reservation for the restaurant. Before Sci-fucking came back to his senses, her hand was already in his palm. He closed his fingers, wrapping her hands in them. The warmth spreads from the palm to the rest of the body, and the current in the heart rushes around. Sci-fucking fell silent. Her will was originally very unstable, and now it has begun to falter. Yu Zion took her downstairs and walked to the car. He bent down slightly and held the car door with one hand. I heard from the crew that you fell many times today for filming, do you need help? Seeing her hesitating, he smiled again. I used to be your transportation tool many times, don't be nervous. It's not impossible. She was carried by him to the co-pilot's seat. Boom. He got in the car and the door closed. Looked at him, it's your first time? I don't believe it. How can you be so skilled the first time? Huh, Yu Zion tilted her head, first time. Don't you even have a weakness? Poked at him, how come you don't have itchy flesh? Yu Zion held her hand, no. Said fiercely, tell me, what is your weakness? He is so routine to her, she must know his weakness, and then there will be a place to attack. Yu Zion just looked at her and smiled, every inch of her eyes were saying the same word. You. Felt that it was not that she was unsatisfactory, but that the enemy's attack was too strong. At this time, she felt that there was no difference between her and Huo Yangxing, both of whom would be fascinated by beauty. Fortunately, she hadn't met Yu Zion when she was on a mission before, otherwise she was afraid that she would sell T18. Took his hand back, I actually have someone I like more. Yu Zion's eyes narrowed, very dangerous, but he still smiled. What did the girl say? Said calmly, didn't I tell you long ago? My idol is Emperor Yin, and you are also his fan. You definitely won't care about your idol. Yu Zion's expression paused, apparently not expecting this answer. He was helpless at first, and then whispered, do you like him so much? What you have seen is only described in the history books, and you don't know what kind of person he really is. Was slightly startled. Indeed. There is a big discrepancy between Emperor Yin and the records in the history books. She also watched him grow from 9 years old to 27 years old, and then she knew more details. And as time goes by, it will soon come to the joint note of history. Emperor Yin passed away. Her feelings for Emperor Yin were respect and admiration. When she thought of his death, her heart seemed to be strangled by something, and she was so dull that she couldn't breathe. Yu Zion noticed her distraction, what's wrong? Si's voice was very low, why do people die? Yu Zion thought she thought of her sister again. He said, everyone is mortal, nothing is eternal, but she will always be by your side. He paused, leaned down, and pressed her forehead, me too. 1 second, 2 seconds, 7 seconds, finally regained control of her thoughts. She pushed him away, concentrate on driving, you are still in the reserve team. She turned on her phone and secretly recorded a sentence in the memo. Persistence for 3 days is victory, it's been half a day, come on. After eating, Yu Zion sent Si back to the villa. Before leaving, he raised his hand and rubbed her head, remember to rest early and go in. Si grabbed the dull hair on her head and floated back to the room. Xiaobai followed behind her, chewing on a piece of gold. Tang Si called Yu Tang and coughed lightly, I'll tell you something, don't get excited, Yu Tang said loudly, Ching Ching, you were tricked by my 9th uncle. Si. She corrected very seriously, I kidnapped him, and I haven't agreed. Wow, Yu Tang was very excited, and she adored her with star eyes, Ching Ching, you are so amazing, I have never seen anyone who can make 9th uncle shriveled. She must hug and lean this thigh. After the call ended, Yu Tang was still excited. She opened Weibo, clicked on Si super chat, and found that the mooses who were wildly guessing about their rivals yesterday had become accustomed to it. After reading all the guesses, Yu Tang hummed twice, you absolutely can't guess. When Ching Ching and her 9th uncle made it public, she was the #1 old fan. Yu Tang recorded an entry on his private Weibo. Today, my CP is together, I can have 2 pocket money in the future. She happily fantasized about a better life in the future, and the ringtone of her mobile phone broke the silence. Yu Tang glanced at it and found that it was the Yu family's phone number. She looked cold, hung up decisively and blocked. Yu family. Mr. Yu looked at the phone that was hung up, his face ashen, continued to call. The housekeeper dialed Yu Tang's phone number again, but the busy tone was still on the phone, but this time it didn't even ring. Master, Miss Yu Tang, she. The housekeeper opened his mouth, but didn't say the rest. But how could old Master Yu not know that Yu Tang directly blocked all their mobile phone numbers? His expression was even more ugly. 1 or 2, is she trying to rebel? Last time, he finally blocked Yu Zion, and in a blink of an eye, his most incompetent son left with the leader of the Qinjun alliance. At that time, Mr. Yu was overjoyed. He didn't know what the relationship between Yu Zion and Xiao Wenjian was, but presumably he could use Yu Zion to establish a relationship with Qinjun League. But until now, he hadn't even seen Yu Zion's figure. After Yu Tang left the country, he didn't even make a phone call home. Mr. Yu waved his hand with a cold face, call Qi Shan back and let him contact Yu Tang. The butler responded and hurried off. 30 minutes later, Yu Qishan arrived at the old house of the Yu family. The old man Yu said lightly, Qi Shan, there is an urgent matter at home, you can call Yu Tang back. Yu Qishan's actions paused, what's the urgency? Qi Shan, you don't pay attention to the family business, and you don't know that the Yu Group stock has plummeted recently. Mr. Yu didn't hide it from him. Now the Yu family needs to marry the Sykes family and get their financial support. The Sykes family is a big chaebol in the Western continent. There are 3 companies under it, all of which are in the top 100 in the world, and their strength is very strong. The current situation of the Yu family is not optimistic. It happened that the Sykes family threw olive beads towards them, and Mr. Yu naturally would not refuse. Now that the Yu family has reached marriageable age, there are quite a few members of the direct line, and there are 7 or 8 in Yu Yao's generation. But Mr. Yu was reluctant to let his grandson cross the ocean and go to a foreign country. After all the calculations, only Yu Tang was the most suitable. After all, Yu Tang has not achieved much. In the eyes of Mr. Yu, a girl must get married sooner or later, and it makes no difference to have a husband and a child at home. Yu Qishan was stunned. Dad, Mom, Tang Tang is still in school. She is only a sophomore this year. She is so young. You asked her to marry? Have you considered her mood? Her mood? What kind of heart does she have? On the side, MRSU said lukewarmly, it's because of who she grew up with, so she's just as heartless and heartless. When she's an adult, her wings are hard, so she doesn't tell her family. With a bang, go abroad to go to college. I like going abroad so much, and I don't want to come back in the future. It just happens that I live abroad for a lifetime. Madam Yu also hated Yu Tang, her granddaughter. Apart from the reason that Yu Tang grew up with Yu Zion, she was not very satisfied with Yu Tang's mother at the time. She is too assertive and doesn't know how to follow her, so that she has no dignity as a mother-in-law. Fortunately, Yu Tang's mother died after giving birth to Yu Tang, and Yu Wenhua also remarried someone else. This made MRSU feel a lot more comfortable. Yu Wenhua didn't care about her daughter, and MRSU turned a blind eye and didn't see it. Who knew that Yu Zion, who has always been cold-hearted, would shoulder the responsibility of taking care of Yu Tang? Well now, a white-eyed wolf has raised another little white-eyed wolf. It can make Yu Tang out of her sight, and at the same time bring enough benefits to the Yu family. MRSU is very satisfied with the marriage between the Yu family and the Sykes family. Hearing this sentence, Yu Qishan's expression became cold. I can't call her back, you die. The old man Yu shook his head and said lightly, it's okay, you can't protect her, and your brother is even more impossible. Yu Qishan raised his head and suddenly smiled, Dad, Do you think he is always under your control? Mr. Yu frowned. What do you mean? What means can Yu Zion not do? Good morning. Remember to vote at the end of the month. Introduction. The plot hasn't arrived yet, when Ching Ching knows the identity of His Majesty 2333. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Chien. Chapter 634. These days, Mr. Yu has already figured it out. If Yu Zion really had a close relationship with the Qinjun League, he wouldn't still be at the bottom of the celebrity circle. His peers have long been married and established themselves and become famous. Several juniors like Yu Yao have already entered their respective family businesses, leaving him far behind. He is almost 30 years old, and there is not a famous lady who can look forward to it. It's not that old man. You didn't see that Yu Zion was cold by nature and hard-hearted. What's the use of being arrogant? In this world, no matter how arrogant people are, they have to succumb to power and strength. Of these two, what does Yu Zion have? Yu Qixin looked very calm, and he said lightly, Dad, I advise you, only Tang Tang is the only person in the entire Yu family who cares about him. Yu Wenhua abandoned his daughter, and it was Xian who raised Tang Tang, and none of you care. If you want the Yu family to completely disintegrate, you can give it a try. I don't have any feelings for the Yu family, I don't care. Stop you. After saying this, he turned and walked away, completely ignoring the ugly faces of others. The old man Yu was furious. Yu Qixin. Explain clearly what you said. MRSU slammed the table. Look, what I'm saying, but anyone who has been with that mother and father for a long time will be disobedient. I don't know what means Yu Zion used to provoke their relationship with Yu Qixin. Really good. The old man Yu took 2 heavy breaths, obviously not very angry. He waved lightly and called the housekeeper. You take someone to Eterno University, go in the name of your family, and then tie Yu Tang back directly. Since Yu Tang was born in the Yu family, she needs to contribute to the Yu family. She has to go even if she doesn't go to this marriage. The housekeeper was very respectful. Yes, old man. MRSU looked bored. Hurry up and get married. What kind of book does a girl read? This is also what she doesn't like about Yu Tang. Her precious grandson has not been admitted to Eterna University. Why can Yu Tang be an exchange student? Only when Yu Tangan married quietly, could old Madame Yu's heart be balanced. Dad, Mom, the door was pushed open at this moment, and Yu Wenhua came in. He was a little surprised. What happened? Your second elder is so angry. Wenhua is back. MRSU smiled. I'm discussing Tang Tang's marriage with your father. Yu Wenhua nodded. Have the conditions been negotiated? The Sykes family is willing to contribute money to support the Yu family. Mr. Yu said, we will see if they are satisfied with Yu Tang later. That's good. Yu Wenhua had no feelings for Yu Tang, and he only valued interests. Just as she was speaking, Madame Yu suddenly let out a painful moan, and the servant hurriedly handed over the medicine. Yu Wenhua frowned. Mom, is your headache okay? No. Madame Yu was still weak after taking the medicine. Yao said, I'm afraid only a ghost doctor can cure my disease. Yu Wenhua did not speak. He has also heard the name Ghost Hand and Heavenly Doctor many times. Although he did not understand this, he also knew that even Liberty Continent highly respected ghosts and doctors. If she wanted the ghost doctor to come to Yu's house, MRSU could only dream in the daytime. Of course Yu Wenhua wouldn't hurt old Madame Yu's self-confidence, so she didn't say she was wishful thinking, and went upstairs to rest after a few perfunctory sentences. The next day, Si fucking got up from the bed with a few dull hairs. Xiaobai brought her a grooming tool very intimately. The dog owner kicked the quilt several times last night, and he covered her with his small body. It's such a sweet little dog. No other dog is as smart or cute as it is. Si fucking squatted down, rubbed Xiaobai's head, and generously pulled out 3 gold bars. Xiaobai immediately started chewing with his hands and feet holding the gold bar. The sound of a car's engine came from downstairs, and Si Fu tilted his head to look out the window. The door opened and the man got out. The sun fell, cut into pieces by the leaves, and scattered on him, dyeing his eyebrows and eyes pale gold, making him more noble. It is undeniable that he has a good skin that turns all living beings upside down. It is the kind of beauty that is willing to pay for it. Si fucking looked away. Be angry. A few seconds later, the door of the villa was pushed open. Yu Xian walked in and put the bag in her hand on the table. Then he looked up and smiled at the girl. Good morning. Si fucking jumped down from the stairs. What is this? Breakfast, Yu Xian said. I bought it according to your taste. I didn't know which one you wanted to eat today, so I bought them all. Si fucking opened the box, which contained freshly baked xiao longbao. She took a bite. It was the taste she liked. She sharply felt a gaze fell on her, and she raised her head. He didn't eat, just looked at her. His eyes were clear, and he didn't have a strong desire, but he was full of aggression, wrapped in some kind of temptation. Si fucking stretched out his hand, immediately covered his eyes, and gritted his teeth. Don't look anymore, eat well. Huh, Yu Xian didn't expect her to do this, and paused. What's wrong? His shallow breath fell on her wrist, numb. His long eyelashes also stroked her palm, touching the line of defense in her heart bit by bit. Si fucking was expressionless. I won't be able to hold it any longer if you look at it, I won't be able to bear it. There was a moment of silence in the living room. Si fucking stuffed another bun into his mouth. Tilt. After a period of silence, he suddenly opened his mouth and said in a cold voice, I can't control it. Si fucking's heart stopped. The doorbell rang. She got up immediately. I'll open the door. Yu Xian narrowed her eyes, her expression cold. Si fucking opened the door and saw the person who came. Hey, big brother. Miss Si, hello hello. Yu Kishan walked in and asked, Xiaoju, why haven't I been able to find you for the past 2 days? Yu Xian raised her eyes and smiled faintly. I haven't officially assumed the position yet, so I can't go back home. Si fucking choked for a moment. She held the bun and muttered, it sounds like you're a bully. Yu Kishan staggered at the foot, as if he had seen a ghost. You really are a beast. Yu Xian didn't refute, he propped his elbows. Well. Yu Kishan. Big beast. No, not as good as beasts. Xiaoju, something happened. Yu Kishan decided to ignore it. His expression was serious. Parents want Tang Tang to marry the Sykes family. They have already gone to Ethno University to kidnap people. Si fucking narrowed his eyes. So arrogant. You family, it seems that there is nothing remarkable about it, right? Yu Xian put down the teacup and said lightly, it seems that they have never been clear about their position. He stood up. Ching ching, I'll go to the Western continent. Okay. Si fucking nodded. Let Tang Tang study at ease, and I will take care of other things. Well, I'll tell her that her ninth aunt cares about her very much. Yu Xian frowned. Let her not worry. Si fucking. She threw a pillow at him. You go quickly. Yu Xian grabbed the pillow with one hand and gave it back to her. Brother, let's go. Yu Kishan touched his head and followed behind him. Young people's love is full of love and love, like dandelions scattered all over the place. It made him a bit tempted as an unmarried person. West Continent, University of Ethno. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yu Tang had just finished the course and returned to the dormitory. The housekeeper has been waiting for a long time with 10 dark guards. Miss Yu Tang. The housekeeper stepped forward. The old man and the old lady can't get through to your phone, so we have to pick you up in person. You don't have to worry too much about your studies at Eterna University. I have already asked. You can take a 2-year leave of absence, and the school will retain Miss Yu Tang's student status. Yu Tang's palms were sweating. What do you want to do? Although Yu Zion deducted her pocket money from time to time, she did not treat her materially. She came to Ethno University as an exchange student and lived in the best single villa. There are no people in the villa area now. It's just marriage. Miss Yu Tang doesn't have to worry. The housekeeper's eyes were scrutinized. You should feel honored that you can help the Yu family. After all, your food and clothing belong to the Yu family. Fart, Yu Tang was furious. I've studied well. Since junior high school, the school not only exempted me from tuition, but also gave me a subsidy. Tell me what I'm using. This answer was beyond the butler's expectations. His expression was a little embarrassed, his face was burning with pain, and he still insisted, your surname is Yu. Yu Tang was so angry, I can also be named Lu. The housekeeper didn't want to have too much entanglement with her, but just clapped his hands, as the old man ordered, tie her back. The dark guard stepped forward. Yu Tang suddenly said, ninth uncle. The butler frowned and turned his head. Feng San pushed Yu Zion over slowly. The butler's gaze swept out of the man's legs half in disdain and half in sarcasm. A man with disabled legs is indeed no different from a cripple. Miss Yu Tang, don't make indifferent struggles. The housekeeper retracted his gaze and smiled estrangedly. The old man said that no one can protect you, especially your ninth uncle. He stretched out his hand to grab Yu Tang's shoulder. But in the next moment, a gust of wind surged up, the space in front of him seemed to be distorted, and the butler's hand grabbed an empty space. His expression changed, he raised his head in disbelief, and saw that Yu Tang had been protected by Yu Zion behind him. But just now, it was clear that no one moved. The butler's brain buzzed, and he couldn't understand what was going on at all. Yu Tang stammered, Uncle Jeju, did I just fly up? Uncle Ju, you are so handsome. No wonder Ching Ching can be tricked by you. Feng San. Miss Yu Tang is smart when she should be smart, and knows what to say to coax people. Yu Zion said lightly, Feng San. Feng San immediately retracted his thoughts, ninth brother. His voice was calm, without any hesitation. The words he said were extremely cruel and brutal. It's all scrapped. Thank you all for your monthly pass to His Majesty. You vote, I vote. Our little white is really cute. It's a girl, and she doesn't look sloppy at all. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 635. No waves, no traces, deep still water. An unprecedented sense of oppression shrouded the housekeeper and the 10 secret guards. Their hearts seemed to be tightly strangled by something, and their fear was brought to the greatest extent at this moment. The housekeeper couldn't believe what he heard. He raised his head tremblingly, his whole body was like falling into an ice cellar. He is the old man of the Yu family. When Mr. Yu was young, he was already working in the Yu family. Before the age of 14, Yu Zion had been in the Yu family, so he could be regarded as watching Yu Zion grow up and had some understanding of Yu Zion's temperament. Yu Zion was taciturn, very aloof, and never attended any celebrity circle banquets. After that, why didn't he go back to Yu's house, and over time, even the housekeeper forgot his existence. But in the housekeeper's eyes, Yu Zion should have always been a very easy to control person. As long as Mr. Yu cuts off Yu Zion's economy, he will be nothing. But now, in horror, the housekeeper suddenly realized that he had never looked through Yu Zion at all. It was as if he had no idea how Yu Zion kept Yu Tang behind him. What exactly is going on? Yes. Feng San became active and immediately stepped forward to control the still sluggish butler. When he moved like this, the other dark guards finally reacted and stepped forward to control Yu Zion and Yu Tang together. Originally, they were concerned that Yu Zion was the Yu family, and could be regarded as their half-master. But Mr. Yu is the real person in charge. Since Yu Zion is on the opposite side of Mr. Yu, don't blame them for being rude. However, the 10 dark guards were unsuccessful. When they just took a step, Yu Zion raised her head and glanced at them very lightly. At this glance, the feet of the 10 dark guards seemed to be frozen, unable to move at all. They haven't reacted to what's going on, and the next second, they only feel that every inch of bone is being squeezed. The bone cracking sound of click, click sounded, and the pain instantly swept through the whole body. Even the dark guards who have been systematically trained can hardly resist this kind of pain. In just half a second, all 10 dark guards lost their combat effectiveness. Plop, plop dash. One after another, the dark guards fell to the ground one after another. But they are still conscious and can see and hear. This sobriety is undoubtedly their greatest torture. The dark guards were also terrified. They stared at Yu Zion, and finally realized that they knew nothing about Yu Zion's strength. How could the 9th son of the Yu family, who has always been in the celebrity circle with no sense of existence, have such a means? Yu Zion was still sitting in the wheelchair, her voice was still. He was born in the emperor's family in his previous life, his blood kinship was weak, and he had no relatives. In the entire Yu family, the only people who can make him miss him are Yu Tang and Yu Qixin. For the rest of the Yu family, he has no feelings at all. After all, he was originally a cold-blooded and ruthless person. The housekeeper was twisted by Feng San and broke his arm, and his legs were also broken. But his condition is much better than the dark guard who fell to the ground. The housekeeper looked at Yu Zion and couldn't help trembling, and his lips trembled fiercely. You. Yu Zion's tone was cool, pack it up and send it back to Yu's house. Feng San tied the butler and the guards together with twine, and put a pair of unwashed stinky socks into their mouths very intimately. Yu Tang was very moved. You, Uncle Ju, you are so kind to me, how can you be so kind, or I'll just call you Dad. She quickly added another sentence, I don't mind being my mother. Yu Zion closed her eyes and said in a light voice, have you finished writing the thesis? Yu Tang. Is it possible to write a dissertation? Can. She lost her vitality in an instant, squatting down and drawing circles on the ground sadly. Feng San coughed twice, Miss Yu Tang, what Brother Ju means is that you can study with peace of mind, and you don't need to worry about other things. He and Miss Si will handle it. Hearing this sentence, Yu Tang asked tentatively, can you help me write the paper too? It's due on Thursday. Yu Zion closed her eyes and ignored the sentence, but said, let 2 A-level evolutionaries come over. Yes, Feng San nodded and started to contact other brothers by phone. The housekeeper on the ground could hear it clearly, and his head buzzed again. The Yu family is the #1 wealthy family, and naturally they have also been in contact with the cultivators. Grandpa Yu also often sighs that if the Yu family can invite a few B-level evolutionists, then there will be no worries. It is a pity that the evolutionary people are very proud, and the Yu family has no channel to contact the evolutionary people. The marriage with the Sykes family this time is also because the Sykes family has an A-level evolutionary as an elder guest. The Sykes held the elder in great respect. Why did the A-level evolutionary follow the Chinese cabbage in Yu Zion's mouth? Be honest, Feng San pinched the butler's throat, you said it's not good for you to move, but you want to move Miss Yu Tang? A few lives are not enough. Before leaving, Yu Zion turned her head sideways, send me your paper first on Wednesday, and I'll check it. Yu Tang continued to draw circles. Ju Shu is really lying to her. And this time, the Evolutionary Alliance. Captain, an advanced evolutionary person has used his abilities, why are you stopping me? The young man looked anxious. I detected that energy fluctuations appeared in the university town, he must have shot at ordinary people. How to fight between evolutionaries, the evolutionary alliance generally will not intervene. And because of the existence of evolutionary genes, evolutionaries are born to suppress ordinary people. In order to maintain the balance, the evolutionary alliance does not allow the evolutionary to do anything to ordinary people. The captain held the young man's shoulder and shook his head lightly. Have you forgotten that there are disorderly people in the alliance? The youth took a deep breath. What was detected just now? Disorder. The disordered have absolute privileges. Not only are they not bound by the rules of the Evolution Alliance, but even the alliance leader has to respect 3 points. If you want to become a disordered one, you must have made a huge contribution, and at the same time have superpower of S rank or above. The Evolution Alliance has been established for so long, and only 7 disorders have appeared in history. Only 3 are still alive. Yeah, the captain nodded. We are not qualified to handle this matter. Let's report it to the leader first. I don't know where the unlucky bastard came from, but dared to provoke the disorderly. Disorders never take action. It can only be said that the unlucky ones deserve it. Here, Sci-fi just finished filming an underwater scene and returned to the lounge. While wiping her hair, she sent Yu Zion a message. Sci-fi, is Tang Tang alright? Pursue my sponsor, I am writing a thesis. Sci-fi raised his eyebrows. She could already imagine Yu Tang's grief and anger. She picked up her mobile phone, found out the behind-the-scenes pictures taken today, and sent them over. Sci-fi, do you think I look like a great swimmer today? Pursue my gold master, huh? You are not like anyone. Sci-fi, is there something in this sentence? Pursue my gold master, you can think about it? Sci-fi held his chin and thought for a moment. She decided to turn to her almighty fans. So she forwarded the sentence to Weibo. Atsifyukingv, you are not like anyone. The strength of a powerful top stream is that a one-sentence Weibo can instantly reach the top of the hot search list within tens of seconds. My wife definitely has a goal. She was able to post 2 private Weibo in just a few days. See you soon. You are not like anyone because I love you. Whoa, I love you so much. Is this paparazzi okay? 3 days have passed and you still haven't picked up a suspicious person? Back view is fine too. Stupid paparazzi. Paparazzi. The main owner and the fans couldn't be bothered, so they withdrew. Sci-fi dumped his comments and looked at a string of I love you. A suspicious blush gradually appeared on his cheeks. Just at this moment, as if the time was set, a message came in. Pursuit of my gold master, do you know? Sci-fi put his phone on the table and buried his head in the pillow. The heart beat silently. Damn, it's another bad day. In the evening, the Yu family. When Yu Yao came back from the company, MRSU happily greeted him to sit down for dinner. At the dinner table, MRSU complained to Yu Yao again, if only you hadn't given birth to your 9th uncle at that time, and grandma wouldn't suffer from the root cause of the disease. Yu Yao hesitated and did not speak. His feelings for Yu Zion were very complicated. He always knew that it was because of Yu Zion's physical disability that Mr. Yu turned to nurture him. But Yu Zion was still a generation above him. For Yu Zion, Yu Yao is half superior. A few years ago, he would still be worried that Yu Zion's leg would be cured, but now he can breathe a sigh of relief. After so long, Yu Zion's legs could be said to have no chance of recovery at all. Grandma, don't be angry, Yu Yao comforted MRSU. I have asked someone to find a relationship with the doctor in Liberty Island, but he is a little busy these days, so he will come to see your grandma after a while. Madam Yu was surprised. Freedom Continent. Yu Yao said, the surname is Liu, and he is a genius doctor. It's still a Yao who has a heart and has been thinking about my illness. MRSU sighed, it would be even better if we could find a ghost doctor. Yu Yao pursed his lips, and his heart was also tormented. During this time, he heard a lot of people talking about ghosts and doctors in Eternal Continent, but he didn't have any clues. Okay, the ghost doctor is not something that a Yao can see if he wants to. Mr. Yu frowned. Let's eat first. Dong dong dong. The door was knocked at this moment, and the knocker was very rough. Mr. Yu's brows stretched out. It should be the housekeeper who brought someone back. A Yao, go open the door. You are Tang Tang's brother. You do psychological work for her. No matter how good her academic performance is in the future, it is better to marry into the Sykes family and become a wealthy lady. Yu Yao nodded and went to open the door. Good morning. At the end of the month, the baby with a monthly pass will rush to His Majesty. Asterisk. Regarding the character of Yu Tang, she is indeed a little naive and stupid, but this is because she is so well protected by His Majesty and Yu Kishan. If Ye Wan Chai has been around, Ching Ching will be like this. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 636. But the people outside seemed to be unable to wait, and the knocking on the door suddenly increased. Boom. The heavy door was overwhelmed and suddenly fell to the ground. It smashed directly at Yu Yao, only an inch away from his head. Yu Yao's footsteps were nailed to the spot, and he stared at the door, which was said to be unviable by a magnitude 7 earthquake, and a layer of cold sweat formed on his back. If he went one more time just now, he would be fired. Yu Yao raised his head stiffly, and instantly met a cold gaze. He had never seen the owner of the site, but he could smell the strong bloody smell on his body. Yu Yao had only seen such a chilling aura on members of the Qinjun League above level 8. His thoughts were instantly chaotic, and he began to wonder if the Yu family had messed with the people on the road. Yu Yao opened his mouth. Excuse me, Yu. Shen Ying ignored him and walked straight into the hall. All the Yu family members at the dinner table looked over. There was astonishment, there was shock. Shen Ying clapped her hands and smiled slightly. A few of you are here, I thought you ran away. With a snack, Mr. Yu threw his chopsticks on the table, and said sharply, Who are you? Do you know that it is illegal to trespass in a dwelling? Even the Yu family dares to enter. Don't die. Shen Ying didn't have any fear, just said lightly, throw it in. Bang bang bang. 2 more people broke in. Feng San and Kenyan threw Steward Yu and the 10 dark guards on the ground. These people were tied with hands and feet, twisted in a strange posture, apparently even the bones were out of place. There was still slightly dried blood dripping down from the clothes, which was shocking. Old Man Yu's expression changed greatly, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Isn't this the person he sent to bring Yu Tang back? How did it become like this? The old man Yu was relatively calm. After all, he had been in a lot of places when he was young, and everyone else, including Yu Wenhua, screamed in horror. The Yu family suddenly became a mess. Shen Ying took out a gun directly and said coldly, Give me peace. All sounds stopped abruptly. Madame Yu clutched her chest and was a little out of breath. Mr. Yu said that the Yu family has nothing to do with him, and he doesn't intend to have anything to do with you. It's good to be a stranger, Shen Ying said lukewarmly, but you said that there are so many people in the Yu family. What are you doing? Why do you want to touch Miss Yu Tang? Old Man Yu's expression shattered. Mr. Yu, Yu Zion. This young man turned out to be Yu Zion's subordinate. Shen Ying was still cold. Mr. Yu also said that if you dare to send someone to trouble Miss Yu Tang, you will end up dying. It's just presumptuous. The old man Yu was furious. He didn't take any responsibility. He even wanted to destroy the marriage between the Yu family and the Sykes family. What did he want to do? I am his father, he must obey me. You are his subordinate, right? Call him back now, but I want to see how he let me die. With a click, Shen Ying stepped forward at a speed that was difficult to grasp with the naked eye, and directly twisted the right arm of the old man Yu. The old man Yu let out a scream. What's it called? Shen Ying sneered. Old man, I have endured you for a long time. I still want to see Brother Ju, what are you worthy of? How the Yu family treats Yu Zion, not to mention him and Feng San, even other nobles in the celebrity circle are well aware of it. Big, bold, you. Old Madam Yu didn't catch her breath, her eyes darkened and she fainted. Yu Yao's expression changed suddenly, he stepped forward to support MRSU, and said anxiously, "Grandma." He immediately took out the emergency medicine to feed MRSU, and was extremely angry. "You guys are going too far, I don't believe ninth uncle would do this." Master Yu Yao, you have to know that you are not in Mr. Yu's eyes from the beginning to the end. Shen Ying glanced at Yu Yao, interrupted him, and said lightly, "Mr. Yu is going to accompany his girlfriend, no sorrow play with you. Of course, you can try it anyway. You can use any method. Let's see how long your Yu family can last. Let's go." He waved and left with Feng Sangxia. The door was still on the ground. Yu Wenhua's legs trembled, and after regaining his mobility, he quickly grabbed his wallet and rushed out of the Yu family's old house. Several other members of the direct line also ran away, and it was too late for Yu Yao to stop him. Because his mind is still a little foggy. How could Yu Zion dare to be the enemy of the entire Yu family? And let his subordinates do anything to the old man Yu? What's the difference between this and the notoriety of killing the father? Isn't Yu Zion afraid of falling to the point where everyone shouts and beats her? And a girlfriend? Inexplicably, an unbelievable thought appeared in Yu Yao's heart. He shook his head and laughed secretly that it was impossible. Reverse, completely reversed, the old man Yu's face was pale, he covered his arm and gasped heavily, Yao, since your ninth uncle doesn't care about family ethics, I don't need to show him any affection. I'm going to call people from other families and announce that he will be kicked out of the Yu family. I also want to tell the world about his evil deeds, so that others can see what kind of virtue he is. Even his own father dared to attack, he wanted to ruin Yu Zion's reputation. Yu Yao pursed his lower lip and whispered, "Grandpa, let's go to the hospital first." The old man Yu was furious, he still wants your grandmother's life, it's really outrageous. He must report to the 3 families and 4 alliances and publicly execute Yu Zion. On the other side, in the car, Canyoning sighed, "I really don't have any deterrent power." Such cruel words still make Shen Yinglei feel oppressive. Feng San comforted him, "It's okay, you left at least a dozen stinky socks, you can't scare them to death, but also smoke them to death." Canyon fell furiously, "Feng San, I want to fight you to the death. Today is either your death or my death." Feng San is not to be outdone, "I'm driving, do you want to die with the 3 of us?" In the passenger seat, Shen Ying ignored these 2 treasures, and was reporting the incident to Yu Zion, "Ninth brother, I broke the hand of the old Yu family, and the old woman was frightened and fainted, and it is estimated that it has been sent to the I went to the first hospital, so I'm not scared." Yeah, Yu Zion's tone was cool, "Well done." After this incident, Shen Ying successfully got the bonus for half a year. He didn't plan to share it with Feng San and Canyoning. At the end of the call, Yu Zion put the phone in his suit pocket, and knocked on the door with Sci-Fi's favorite fruit. The door creaked open. Sci-Fi stuck out a head. Under his feet, Xiaobai also showed a fluffy head. At this time, one person and one beast are somewhat different. Yu Zion lowered her eyes and dropped a few gold bricks. With an ow, Xiaobai ran away with his rations in his arms. Sci-Fi yawned, "It already ate 5 yuan today, why are you giving it to it again?" Yu Zion smiled lightly, "I can afford it." Sci-Fi. She was embarrassed again. In order to prevent the enemy from attacking again and reducing her defense, Sci-Fi decided to take the initiative to attack. Following the routine taught to her in the Love Heart Sutra, she covered her face and said loudly, "Brother Ju, you are very handsome today." Yu Zion frowned, "Oh. Si fucking still covered his face with his hands, but spread his fingers and looked at him through his fingers. He laughed. As if the spring breeze was blowing, the peach blossoms spread out all over the place. Si fucking put his hand on his face. Don't laugh. I won't praise you anymore if you laugh again. Why didn't you boast? Uzion's eyelashes drooped. Didn't you brag a lot before? Your vocabulary is very large, so it shouldn't be used up. I didn't like you before, Si fucking muttered. Of course I have to praise you for the money. Uzion accurately captured the key words. He bent down slightly, his eyes were level with her, and his head was slightly sideways. Well, that means you like me now. His voice was very light, still flat and straightforward, without any ups and downs, but it was easy to move the apex of his heart. The tingling sensation spread from the earlobe to the heart. Si fucking covered his ears. No, it's useless for you to attack me with a sound, you have to chase after a while. A while. At least 2 days. Uzion raised her eyebrows slightly. He also gently squeezed her cheeks and fed her an apple, as ordered. 11 o'clock at night. The first hospital, brightly lit. Shenying's strength is not small, and Mr. Yu's injury is very serious, and he has to undergo surgery immediately. After the operation, Mr. Yu could still feel severe pain. The doctor said that even if his arm was reattached, it would not fully recover and would leave sequelae. MRSU has not woken up yet and is still in the intensive care unit. The situation is not optimistic. She was originally at the root of the disease, and today she was severely frightened, which made her condition worse. The hospital has issued a critical illness notice. Yu Yao and his son were in a hurry, like ants on a hot pot. The old man Yu was also very anxious. Yao, when will the genius doctor you invited come? Your grandma's illness can't be delayed. I'll get in touch again, Yu Yao said. Grandpa, take care of your injury and leave it to me. He hurried out. Old Master Yu was still angry. He closed his eyes and tried his best to calm down his anger. The door to the ward was knocked open. Mr. Yu was so angry that he suddenly opened his eyes. I said I don't. The voice stopped abruptly. Si fucking leaned against the door and raised his eyes lazily. What are you? It's useless when you're old, and you won't be able to get up if your arm is broken. Mr. Yu didn't come up in one breath. He said incredulously, are you here to watch the fun? Si fucking is very calm. Yes. The old man Yu was shaking with anger, but there was nothing he could do. He pressed the call bell and said coldly, this is the hospital, I don't want to see you, get out immediately. After more than 10 seconds, the nurse hurried over with the dean. Master Yu. The dean came in and suddenly stopped when he looked at the girl. He bowed respectfully to Si fucking, Miss Si, you are also here, didn't Lucian I come with you? It's not far from 3,000 votes, darlings will make up for Ching Ching and His Majesty, and we will add more roars when it arrives. I found that each book has different mythological elements, and I have written myths in many regions. Recently, I began to study Greek and Egyptian mythology. 2333. See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 637. Since the last filming of The Birth of an Employee, the dean has also asked Si fucking some questions from time to time. As a result, many difficult and miscellaneous diseases have been solved, and the success rate of operations in the first hospital has also skyrocketed. Cai Zhongnian fully recognized Si fucking's medical talent, and the dean would naturally not neglect it. No, it should be coming soon. Si fucking wrapped his arms around his arms and looked at old man Yu, whose expression gradually solidified, unless, he wants to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Bachelor, the dean was a little confused, but he didn't ask such a personal question. Miss Si came to see Mr. Yu. After asking this, he smiled again and said to Mr. Yu, MSU, Miss C's medical skills are very high. You are lucky to know her. Maybe your arm will be healthy. Old man Yu's thoughts have stopped running. He opened his mouth, and his voice came out with difficulty, medical skills are very high. He only knew that SI grades were very good, ranking first in the international entrance examination. But what does this have to do with medicine? Yeah, in the first half of the year, a patient was in critical condition. Dr. Lin was away at the time. Miss Si helped the dean was very strange, don't you know? The Yu family is also the #1 wealthy family in the 49 cities, why is the news so closed? Old man Yu's ears were ringing. Si raised his chin, how is his arm? The dean did not hide it, and said one by one, the fundamental injury has been done, and the operation has been performed. It will not affect the daily use, but if you can't lift heavy objects, I am afraid it will also affect. The latter words are not finished. Si nodded slightly, it will affect life expectancy, right? The dean thought to himself, although this is the truth, there is no need to scare the patient so frankly, right? He euphemistically said, many old people's health deteriorates rapidly after a fall. Although old man Yu has always been in good health, he can't stand such torture. Hearing this sentence, old man Yu's face turned pale. Dean, my body. Well, I'll take a look, Si said lightly, go and do your work. The dean looked solemn, then I will trouble Miss Si. As soon as the door opened and closed, only Mr. Yu and Si were left in the ward. Old man Yu's face turned even paler. He is powerful, and he also holds the economic lifeline of the Yu family. His descendants, Cheng Huan, have nothing to be dissatisfied with except his lifespan. Si saw what he was thinking, and smiled slightly, everyone must die, what's the difference between dying early or dying late, don't you think? Mr. Yu's face was ashen, believe it or not, I put your face on the internet. Let your fans see your true face. He really wanted to win over Si. But Si was obviously protecting Yu Zion. The road was blocked immediately. Mr. Yu suddenly understood and sneered, I said, those people who came to Yu's house today belong to you? It seems that you really like him, and you have prepared everything for him. When he said this, he did not regret it in his heart. If he knew that Yu Zion would be able to climb Si one day, he wouldn't have done too much. You are hurting people maliciously, old man Yu glared angrily, I'm going to sue you too. Si is a public figure, he doesn't believe that she doesn't care about her reputation. Since you don't remember some things, then I'll let you remember. Si was condescending, she said lightly, when he was 15 years old, a distinguished guest came to the Western continent, because you didn't want him to be in front of the distinguished guest. Lost face and locked him in the attic. In the end, because of various things, he was in a coma for 7 days, and his limbs were almost necrotic. You broke an arm, can't you stand it? Old man Yu's expression changed, how do you know? Si brows were cold. This was what she heard from Yu Kishan, and it was only a trivial one. No matter how powerful Yu Zion is now, he walked out step by step. Yu Zion was indifferent by nature, and didn't take this kind of thing to heart. But she felt sorry for him. Because she clearly knows how much a person has to pay if they want to grow up. The stronger you are, the more you lose. She understands it all, but she would rather she doesn't understand. If you care about my kung fu, it's better to take care of the Yu family. Si straightened up, her eyes were indifferent, she smiled coldly, remember, don't mess with him, if he is wronged, I will be angry. Ghost Hand and Heavenly Doctor, this time, he won't save him if he sees death. She wouldn't let them die so easily. Account, still need to calculate step by step. The door is closed. The wind blows in from the window. It was already a little cold in late October, and Mr. Yu couldn't help shivering. He wrapped his clothes tightly, and could only hope that Yu Yao would bring Shanai Lu from Liberty Continent back as soon as possible. At 11 o'clock in the evening, the night was already deep. Si fucking was walking home until a voice called her from behind. Miss Si. Miss Si. Si fucking stopped abruptly and turned around. Feng San followed behind her in the car. The door opened, Yu Zian got out of the car and took her to the car. The car restarts. What are you doing walking so fast? I don't know if I was scratched by a stone. He held her hand, frowning slightly. Even your anger is gone, are you punishing yourself? The so-called superpower crowds such as evolutionaries and onmyoges are born with a breath of air. When the strength reaches a certain level, this chi will automatically protect the human body. Only then did Si fucking realize that she had walked for several kilometers, and there was hot sweat on her forehead. I ran away, she whispered. Why did you train me again? Yu Zian sighed lightly. I didn't train you, I worried about you. Where did you go? Hospital. Yu Zian's eyes narrowed, and before she said anything, she listened to her comfort him. Ninth brother, don't be sad, I don't have parents anymore. Yu Zian's eyes narrowed slightly. Well, it's not sad. Ninth brother Si fucking raised his head slightly and looked at him. You have a very high evolutionary bloodline, but the ancestors of the Yu family have never been evolutionary, maybe. Yu Zian naturally understood what she meant. He touched her head and smiled lightly. It's not important. Originally, family affection was insignificant to him. Even because the emperor's family is too cold-hearted, he can cut off all blood without any psychological obstacles. He is cruel, he is violent, and he readily recognizes these names that have been criticized by historians for a long time. To deal with the enemy, he did not have it. Si fucking didn't speak, and touched his head. He was drawn to laugh by her gentle gesture. So he bent down slightly, attached to her ear, and asked her in a very soft voice, I feel so sorry for me, why don't you consider giving me a day off? Huh. That's what really hurts me, ching ching. His tone was cold, unhurried, with a certain bewitching connotation. Absolutely not. Si fucking crossed his hands, and said in a righteous manner, since you attacked me again, I will give you another 3 days. Another 3 days, Yu Zian's eyelashes drooped. If you feel bad for me, are they all fake? 1 yard is 1 yard. Si fucking raised her eyebrows, she cleared her throat, and suddenly changed to a soft voice, brother, you won't bully me. The man's eyes suddenly sank. Si fucking saw aggression and possessiveness in his eyes for the first time. Don't be like this. Yu Zian looked helpless and accepted her fate. I can't stand it. Si fucking's fox eyes lit up, she blinked, but did not change her voice. What if I can't stand it? How's it going? He took out a tissue to wipe her sweat and smiled unhurriedly. I want to give you everything. Si fucking immediately took a step back. You have fouled again. 3 more days. Yu Zian's brows moved slightly. Okay, let's not make trouble. Didn't you mean to watch TV together? 20 minutes later, the car stopped in front of the villa. Si fucking jumped out of the car and immediately ran into the living room to turn on the TV. Yu Zian sat next to her. In the courtyard outside the villa, Canyoning was bored and barbecued by the stream, and suddenly asked on a whim, can I apply for a girlfriend from Brother Ju without the year-end bonus when you said it? Feng San. After a few seconds, he slowly said, first, you are daydreaming, second, are there any other men of the opposite sex besides Miss Si beside the 9th brother? Sigh. Canyon sighed up to the sky, I didn't feel it before, watching Brother Ju and Miss Si fall in love, I also want to find a lovely girlfriend. Feng San he sneered, just you? Let this heart die. Even if you don't look in the mirror to see what you look like, can you still be seen by girls? What a dream. At this time, Liberty Island, Lu family. Lu Xingkai came back from the Intercontinental Research Institute, holding the bank card given to him by his teacher. I'm a little genius, and my elder brother is extremely stupid. He hummed, feeling better than ever. As soon as he walked into the Lu house, he was almost knocked flying by Lu Xingheng, who was hurried out. Lu Xingkai quickly hugged the pillar beside him and shouted, "Hey, big brother! What are you doing, big brother?" Lu Xingheng said with a cold face, "Looking for a girlfriend." He never remembered the patient's name, he only remembered that his subordinates could not have failed operations. After Sci-fi called him, he realized that the Yu family actually wanted Yu Tang to drop out of school and get married early. Lu Xingheng never thought he had a good temper. The Yu family just stepped on his red line. Very good. Hey. What kind of girlfriend? Wait, brother, make it clear. You can't have a girlfriend, stop dreaming. Before Lu Xingkai recovered from the shock, Lu Xingheng had disappeared. 10 minutes later, he arrived at the Liberty Island airport. While waiting at the airport, he received a message on his phone. Mr. Lu, the old lady of the Yu family suddenly fell ill. The Yu family is willing to triple the basic remuneration. Can Mr. Lu make time for a trip to Sijukan? Lu Xingheng twitched the corners of his lips, took away the cruelty in his eyes, and replied with 4 words calmly. Right now, wait. The last 3 days of the end of the month, ask for tickets. Pour out her boyfriend's power max. I'll add more to you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 638. Lu Xingheng was not a kind-hearted person, and when he was ruthless, he had no morals at all. He became a doctor because he accidentally got a secret book on the Eternal Continent, and then he became a self-taught. Before integrating this medical secret book, all Lu Xingheng did was licking blood on the tip of the knife. It was only in the past few years that his xingxing settled down. Lu Xingheng slowly exhaled, restraining the evil intentions that were pressing down in his bones. He exited the chat box and clicked on Yu Tang's avatar. The last message was sent until this morning. Lu Xingheng, what are you doing? Yu Tang, write the thesis. Woohoo, can you help me write the thesis? Uncle Ju actually found 2 people to watch me write papers. I have 3 papers to write. Lu Xingheng sighed in relief while looking at this reply. There is also the strength to act coquettishly, and it seems to be doing well. He turned off the phone screen and waited for the plane. Lu's here. When Father Lu and Mother Lu came back, Lu Xingkai was still in a petrified state. Mother Lu was very strange. What are you doing here? Where's your elder brother? Lu Xingkai recovered with great difficulty. My eldest brother should have left by plane. Let's go. Father Lu frowned. What happened to this child Xingheng? He ran away not long after he came back. What are you doing outside? How many surgeries are waiting for him to do? He's good, he'll take the orders depending on his mood. Mother Lu also complained. Xingkai, did your eldest brother tell you where he's going? Lu Xing stammered. My eldest brother said that if he doesn't go, his girlfriend will be gone. He summed it up again very rigorously. In short, he robbed his wife. Father Lu and Mother Lu. With Lu Xinggen's bad temper, can he still have a girlfriend? Old Lu, let's go for a physical examination. Mother Lu muttered. I must have been in such a bad state recently that I have hallucinations. Lu Xingkai. At this time, it was 2 o'clock in the morning in Sijukan, and Sci-fi was playing chess with the Lord of the Ghost Valley in the Ghost Valley. The Lord of Ghost Valley glanced at her. How is it with that kid? For the teacher, everyone will float away when they see you. It hurt his teeth. Your apprentice didn't embarrass you. I kidnapped him. Sci-fi snapped his fingers lazily, but he has to chase me for a few more days. The Lord of Ghost Valley snorted slightly. You haven't made much progress in cooking for so many years, but you have given me a face in this matter. Sci-fi was silent. Cooking is her lifelong enemy, and she will always be pulled out and ridiculed by people from all walks of life from time to time. By the way, since your last appearance, there have been more and more people looking for you, and every day I hear someone calling for a ghost doctor. The master of the Ghost Valley stroked his beard and was in a good mood. Old ghost, he doesn't have such a big name, and we still beat him. Sci lifted his eyelids. That's right, your title sounds like the Lord of Hell is coming to claim his life. The Lord of Ghost Valley raised his eyebrows, but he didn't care, and mentioned another thing. By the way, do you remember when my teacher told you that the tomb of God was very turbulent a few days ago? It's best not to go there for a few years. Sci nodded. Remember. According to the game settings of Eternal, the Tomb of the Gods is the Tomb of the Gods. Among the top 10 fierce places, the Tomb of the Gods ranks in the top 3 in terms of the degree of danger. She went in with Ye Wanlin, Lu Qingning and Yu Huixiu several times. There was yellow sand in the sky, and they didn't find anything precious. There are 2 tomb guards in the Tomb of the Gods, and they must avoid 3 points as a teacher. The master of the Ghost Valley added, it is rumored that someone met them outside the Tomb of the Gods in the past 2 days, and they were instantly killed. Your cultivation base has not recovered. Don't run around during this time. Gravekeeper, Sci heard the name Taboo for the first time. You are also a demigod like Master? Why didn't you have the same name as Master, you and the senior Lord Moiwan? They rarely come out. The last time they came out was thousands of years ago. The Lord of Ghost Valley frowned. I don't have an intersection with them, but their strength will never be weaker than a demigod. Sci understood. The holographic game Eternal is strong in constructing an extremely real world. Every map and every NPC and world story needs players to explore step by step. No player has seen the Tomb Keeper, and the game information about the Tomb Keeper is naturally blank. Sci took the advice of the Lord of Ghost Valley in his heart and decided to go back and fill in the background information of the game. The next day, at 10 o'clock in the morning, the first hospital. Yu Yao was his escort yesterday, and he didn't sleep all night, and now it's all blue and black. Just when Mr. Yu asked him to rest, the phone rang suddenly. Mr. Yu Yao, Shanai Lu has arrived in Sijuk, and the other end of the phone said, he asked me for your address just now, and now he is on his way to the first hospital. Yu Yao's expression lifted, and he couldn't contain his excitement. Thank you, Mr. Mo. You're welcome. Mr. Mo smiled. I didn't expect Shanai Lu to come over overnight. Mr. Yu Yao can rest assured that he has not performed a failed operation. Yu Yao thanked again. Without Mr. Mo, he would not be able to contact the Lu family in Liberty Island. The spirit of the old man Yu also became a little more active. Yao, is the genius Dr. Lu here? Well, I'll pick him up. Yu Yao nodded. Grandpa, you and Grandma are saved. He hurried downstairs and stood at the door of the hospital waiting. 10 minutes later, a motorcycle stopped. The young man in the black leather jumped down. Yu Yao stepped forward immediately. But the moment he saw Lu Xinggan's face clearly, he suddenly froze in place. You are not. He had watched the birth of a staff 4 times, and he could naturally recognize that Lu Xinghang was an intern in the same group as Sci. How could the members of the Lu family of Liberty Island film a variety show in the Daxia Empire? Yu Yao didn't have time to think too much, and his attitude was very respectful. Shanai Lu, I'm Yu Yao, please come here. Lu Xinghang didn't speak, and followed him up. Shanai Lu, this is my grandfather. Yu Yao pushed open the door of the ward. My grandfather's arm was twisted by a wicked man. I would like to ask you to see if you can help my grandfather return to normal. Mr. Yu's attitude was also very low. Shanai Lu, hello. The arm was twisted. Lu Xinghang finally spoke. He clapped his hands and said in a cool tone, who did it? So beautiful. Yu Yao raised his head suddenly, with a stunned expression. Shinai Lu, you. What is Lu Xingheng talking about? The technique is really good. Modern medicine can't cure it. Lu Xingheng walked around the old man Yu and smiled. Your arm is completely restored, and other body parts will also be affected. Don't look at me, I won't treat you. His words made Yu Yao and Mr. Yu completely unable to react. Both were dumbfounded. I'm happy to see that you are not good, Lu Xingheng said lightly. You should also be glad that that silly girl is fine, otherwise, I will let you know that a scalpel can kill people. At this time, Yu Yao finally realized that Lu Xingheng didn't make a special trip to treat Mr. Yu and MRSU. He turned out to be here to get down. How is this going? You're a doctor. Mr. Yu didn't catch his breath, his fingers trembled. How could you say such a thing? You violated your medical ethics. That's your rules, Lu Xingheng smiled. Freedom has no such rules, and there is no such thing as medical ethics. He leaned down slightly and said in a very soft voice, what kind of thing is your Yu family? Do you dare to fight me? The old man Yu stared, his eyes were splitting. There was even a cold sweat on his forehead, because the other arm also had a heart-wrenching pain. Lu Shinai, Mr. Yu couldn't care about any face, his face was pale, and he grabbed Lu Xinggen's clothes. Please save me. He didn't want to die early, he wanted to live to be 100 years old. Lu Xingheng was indifferent to the worst, no. Little by little, he broke off old man Yu's fingers, and all the light in old man Yu's eyes disappeared. Yu Yao's lips trembled, and he didn't dare to speak at all. Lu Xinggen's aura was too strong, he couldn't bear it. Oh, forgot to mention, Lu Xingheng held the door with one hand and turned his head slightly. I don't follow your rules, but you have to abide by mine, and the deposit will not be refunded. It just so happened that the silly girl always cried to him that the pocket money was not enough, and the money that the Yu family gave him would hit her card in a while. Lu Xingheng just left. The ward was dead silent. Yu Yao spent more than 10 million yuan in order to invite Lu Xingheng out of the mountain, including 4 million for the agency fee and 6 million for the deposit. This is really nothing to the Yu family, but it was wasted like this, and it also made Yu Yao a little heartbroken. But he can't do anything. The families of Liberty Island are generally divided into two factions, one is the evolutionary family, and the other is the scientific research family. The Lu family is a medium-sized family, but after Lu Xing's remarks, its status has also improved. Not to mention the Lu family, even an inconspicuous little family in Liberty Continent has the ability to crush the Yu family at will. In front of Lu Xingheng, Mr. Yu didn't dare to put a fart. He didn't dare to be angry or speak. Grandpa, there must be a misunderstanding in this matter. Yu Yao pursed his lower lip. I'll ask Mr. Mo. He called Mr. Mo, turned on the speakerphone, and explained what had just happened. Father Yu also rekindled hope. Yes, Shinai Lu must have misunderstood us. Mr. Yu Yao, this is what happened, Mr. Mo said sympathetically. Shinai Lu was supposed to treat your grandfather and grandmother. After all, you also paid a considerable amount of money, and no one will get along with the money. Yu Yao opened his mouth. Then why did Lu Shinai? Mr. Mo interrupted him and said lightly, I also know what you have done. You said that the Yu family stepped on the bottom line of Lu Shinai so accurately, but they regarded Miss Yu Tang as a commodity and a victim of marriage. Woolen cloth. You are going to rob his wife, and you still expect him to treat you? What spring and autumn dreams are you doing? Although it has not reached 3,000 yet, I will still add more to you tomorrow. Babies who have votes, please vote for your majesty and King King Hao, and give me more effort. The character with the highest happiness index in this article, Yu Tang QWQ. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 639. When he learned about this, Mr. Mo was angry and anxious. It is said that the Lu family is very worried about Lu Xinggan's marriage, and because of Lu Xinggan's superb medical skills, many large families in Free Continent are also interested in marrying their daughters to him. Not to mention that the Lu family also has the child prodigy Lu Xingkai. The abilities possessed by the two brothers are enough to ensure the prosperity of the Lu family in Free Continent. The Yu family actually dared to touch Lu Xinggan's bottom line. They were so courageous. Yu Yao's whole body stiffened as if he had been struck by lightning. What did you say? What is the relationship between Lu Xingheng and Yu Tang? Mr. Mo took out a breath and said coldly, what did I say? I said that I would not accept any cooperation from the Yu family in the future. Not only that, he also wanted to publicize what the Yu family had done. Lu Xingheng and Yu Jia are sensible people who know who they will choose. As the head of the Yu family, Mr. Yu has no brains at all, and he still wants to enter the Free Continent? Wishful thinking. Do. The call ended just like that. Yu Yao called again and got a busy signal. He was blocked. Mr. Yu's body swayed, his face was as pale as paper, and even his voice sounded extremely bleak. Lu, divine Dr. Lu, and your sister. Mr. Yu had never expected that things would develop to this point. He never imagined that Lu Xingheng, who had a high status in Free Continent, would actually be related to Yu Tang. No matter how powerful the Sykes family was, they still failed to squeeze into the Free Continent. How can you compare with the Lu family? And he actually offended Lu Xingheng to death in order to get the investment from the Sykes family. He is confused. Has your sister told you? Mr. Yu grabbed Yu Yao's hand and asked urgently. She must have told you, right? Yu Yao pursed his lips. His relationship with Yu Tang was also ordinary, not to mention that Yu Tang had always been attracted to Yu Xian. He felt bored and gradually stopped communicating with Yu Tang. Mr. Yu was in despair. Why didn't she say it? If she did, how could I? He felt very regretful, and his heart hurt so much, as if 10,000 ants were biting him. Grandpa. Yu Yao also felt very uncomfortable. If he knew about the relationship between Yu Tang and Lu Xingheng, it would be too late for him to make friends with Lu Xingheng, so he would naturally not support Mr. Yu's decision. Suddenly, as if he remembered something, Mr. Yu suddenly raised his head. Ah Yao, go call Wen Huai. After all, he is Tang Tang's father. He will definitely be able to persuade Tang Tang to come back. Yu Tang is not mean-spirited. As long as she relents and returns to the Yu family, she will still marry from the Yu family, and they can become in-laws with the Lu family. The more Mr. Yu thought about it, the more excited he became, urging Yu Yao, don't be stunned, go quickly. Yu Yao nodded and went out to contact Yu Wenhua. Mr. Yu called another confidant and said calmly, inform all the major families and the media that I will hold a press conference at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. He wanted to tell the world about Yu Xian's evil deeds in front of everyone. Let the public know what this white-eyed wolf has done. For Mr. Yu, he can't afford to offend Yu Tang and Sci-fi at the moment. The only one he can control is Yu Xian. He simply did not believe that Sci-fi would destroy his future for Yu Xian. After all, Yu Xian has nothing but a face. The other side. Arctic waters, the crew of light. At noon, Yu Xian came over to have dinner with Sci-fi. Sci-fi puffed out her cheeks and ate her buns, then received a call from Yu Tang. Yu Tang angrily said, wow, Ching, Uncle Ju is too much. I stayed up late to finish writing the first paper, and the people he sent calmed down for a while. Sci-fi raised her eyebrows and looked at the man sitting opposite her. You are worthy of being assigned this kind of job to an A-level evolver, ninth brother. Of course she knew that Yu Xian sent 2 A-level evolvers to protect Yu Tang's safety, but she didn't expect that they could be used in other places. Yu Xian's voice was light. Am I going too far? Yu Tang was as quiet as a chicken for a moment. How could she forget that her ninth uncle was currently pursuing Ching Ching crazily, and they must have been inseparable at this time. By the way, Uncle 9, Ching Ching Yu Tang was still a little uneasy. Will I cause you trouble? I heard that the Sykes family has some connections with Free Continent. Yu Xian's eyebrows were steady. Hearing this, he said calmly, in ancient times, Zhejiang came out of the fortress. Now the country is peaceful and the people are safe. My children in Daxia do not need to marry far away. Hearing these words, Si suddenly raised his head. On the other end of the phone, Yu Tang was silent for a moment, and suddenly burst out crying, Uncle Ju, it would be great if you were my father, then no one would bully me. When she was young, her peers said that no one wanted her and she was a loser. She can only study hard to prove herself. Yu Xian comforted Yu Tang with a few words, then turned back to look at her boss Fu Cheng. Her eyes were a little sharper than usual, and her gaze was also a little aggressive. This attack made him stunned. He asked in a low voice, Ching Ching, what's wrong? Si looked at him for a few more seconds and shook his head, I'm having a vision. I haven't slept well recently. At that moment, she actually regarded Yu Xian as Emperor Yin. The two people look completely different, and the eras they live in are completely different, and there is nothing in common. The only thing that made her heart move slightly was that both of them seemed to have a strange quality that attracted him. Compared with Emperor Yin, Yu Xian has more favors. Don't stay in the game cabin today. Yu Xian flicked her forehead with his finger, sleep well. Si stretched out, I understand, pursuer. Yu Xian said calmly, Ching Ching, my memory is pretty good. So I remember there was less than a week left. Si blinked, who said that? If you make me angry, the number of days will keep increasing. Yu Xian didn't say anything, just looked at her, with a faint smile hidden in her eyes, spreading bit by bit. Si lowered his head, eat your food and don't look at me. Ever since he revealed his feelings, when facing her, the man's eyes were no longer as deep and reserved as before. Every glance seemed to bewitching her. It's really terrible. Brother Ninth Shenying appeared quietly. The Yu family just contacted the media and major families to hold a press conference tomorrow. They didn't say what it was about, but it must be aimed at you. Oh, Yu Xian's voice was faint, that's not qualified. Shenying smiled, Brother Ninth, the Yu family has thought that you are useless until now. I don't know how they came to this conclusion. Yu Xian raised his head, then helped them get to know each other. Shenying understood and left quietly. The Yu family is going to hold a press conference. Si raised his head, Brother Ninth, do you need my help? No need. Yu Xian closed her eyes, it's just a small matter. You can film with peace of mind. Let me do it this time, okay? Si looked at him for a long time, turned his head and muttered, I am really a fool. I'm always confused by his face. On the other side, the Western continent, Ethno Public School. Yu Tang clasped his hands together and said aggrievedly, Sisters, I have finished writing an article. Although you are good looking, you can't keep staring at me. Please. 2 A-level evolvers. They retreated in silence. Yu Tang's eyes lit up and he clenched his fists. The method taught by Ching Ching is indeed very useful. No wonder even her ninth uncle lost. Yu Tang stretched and opened Weibo. The most searched term is this one. #Yojia, press conference #. Hold a press conference at this time. Yu Tang frowned and clicked in, finding that netizens were as puzzled as she was. The Yu family is going to hold a press conference, what happened? I am very curious, so I squat down. The wealthy family is too far away from my life. I want to know what they do all day long. Grapevine, I wonder if you know that there is a weirdo in the Yu family. He was initially cultivated by Mr. Yu as his heir. Unfortunately, He later became a cripple. This cripple became a rich woman because of his face. He was ungrateful. Doting on him also means removing him from the Yu family. Yu Tang was furious and was about to start a 300-round battle with the opponent when a familiar voice sounded outside the door. Yu Tang. Yu Tang, I know you are inside. I am Dad. Please open the door. Yu Wenhua knocked on the door. Yu Tang, Dad didn't know that your grandpa wanted to send you to get married. Dad came here to apologize to you. You don't be angry, we are all family. The two A-level evolvers looked at each other, waiting for Yu Tang's order. Dad, Yu Tang sneered, after you marry that woman, I have nothing to do with you. Less than a week after her mother's death, Yu Wenhua married her second wife back to the Yu family with great enthusiasm, bringing with her a boy who was only 5 months younger than her. Cheating during pregnancy. Yu Tang never thought that such a disgusting thing would happen to her. After his stepmother came in, Yu Wenhua forced her to call her stepmother, and told her bluntly not to worry about any of his property, as everything belonged to her brother. When she grows up, she will have to help her brother in everything. For her, she wished Yu Wenhua would die. Yu Tang opened the door and said coldly, Yu Wenhua, I'm warning you, if you don't get out, I'll have you killed. Yu Tang. I am your father. Yu Wenhua was furious, and his true face was revealed. Follow your father at home. Before I die, you have to listen to me. Come back to Yu's house with me. He reached out and grabbed Yu Tang's arm, but was stopped in the air by another hand. The click sound was the sound of bones breaking. Yu Wenhua was in pain. Yu Tang was stunned. When he saw Lu Xinggan's face, he stammered, Why are you here? Lu Xingheng let go of his hand, and Yu Wenhua stumbled back a few steps and fell to the ground. He raised his hand, took off his black leather jacket and handed it to Yu Tang, Take it. I haven't beaten anyone in such a long time, and I don't know if it's unfamiliar. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 640. Yu Tang subconsciously took the black leather coat from him. Why are you taking off your clothes? Lu Xingheng paused, turned his head and squinted at her. You don't think of anything else in your mind, do you? Oops, Yu Tang pointed his finger with a guilty conscience, with an innocent look on his face. How did you know that I would look at pictures of men with ABS? Lu Xingheng. He laughed angrily, I'll discuss this matter with you in a moment. He squeezed these words out of his teeth, and Yu Tang took a step back silently holding the black leather jacket. Lu Xingheng took a step forward and lifted Yu Wenhua up with a grim smile. Old man, do you still have the face to come to her? Boom. A punch hit Yu Wenhua in the face. Lu Xingheng didn't keep his hand. Yu Wenhua spat out a mouthful of blood with a poof, along with a few broken teeth. Yu Wenhua's mind was covered, and he didn't react at all. You only contributed one cell, you didn't give birth and didn't raise it. How dare you call yourself a father? Lu Xingheng grabbed Yu Wenhua's collar with his hand. Your face is not so big. Another punch, this time on the right chest. Crack clap. Several ribs were broken. Yu Wenhua vomited blood continuously, and his spirit was close to collapse. Wow, Yu Tang opened her mouth wide. Lu Xingheng, you still fight? Lu Xingheng. Yu Wenhua was beaten until his nose was blue and his face was bruised, and his pronunciation was difficult, but he still held on. If you want to marry Yu Tang, I'm your father-in-law. You dare to beat me, you? What's the use of a dog's barking? Lu Xingheng smiled slightly. It's really good to bite me, do you have it? Yu Wenhua's chest was heaving with anger. Under his anger, his injury was aggravated again. But he was still sullen. I am Yu Tang's father, and more importantly your elder, you must listen to me. I said, "This is your rule." Lu Xingheng said lightly, "My family's rule is to listen to women, understand? If you don't follow my rules, you should be beaten." Yu Wenhua was shocked. Listen to women? Do you still have the dignity of a man?" Lu Xingheng stopped talking nonsense with him and kicked him. Next came a beating. Yu Wenhua was beaten so hard that he could not fight back, he fell to the ground, and it was difficult to breathe. Lu Xingheng let out a sigh of relief and finally let down the hostile pressure. He knew what happened to Yu Tang's childhood. Yu Wenhua also locked her in the room alone, allowing her stepmother and stepbrother to bully her, causing serious damage to her body and mind. He wanted to beat Yu Wenhua for a long time. Lu Xingheng threw down a check, "Enough for you to go back to China, disappear from my eyes immediately." The two guards who followed Yu Wenhua did not dare to say a word, and carefully took Yu Wenhua away. After solving this matter, Lu Xingheng turned around, and when he was about to say something, he heard a choke sob come out of Yu Tang's throat. Lu Xingheng frowned and said, "Exhale your anger, why are you crying?" He really didn't understand her brain circuits. Yu Tang lowered her head and wiped her tears quickly. "It's nothing, thank you." She never told Yu Xian that she would still be shrouded in the shadows of her childhood. And just now, this shadow was broken by Lu Xingheng. Yu Tang rarely replied to him, but instead made Lu Xingheng startled. "I have nothing to thank, I didn't do anything." His hand was on the wall behind her, and his smile suddenly became dangerous. "By the way, Miss Yu, I need to discuss with you about the ABS." Yu Tang, who was moved for 3 seconds, said, "Can she let this person go?" Yu Wenhua was sent back to Yu's house the next morning, and the whole person fell into a severe coma, and the situation was not good. The Yu family added another wounded person, and people were panicking. The old man Yu, who had been discharged from the hospital, aged several decades again overnight. He was silent for a long time. "That's it?" Because of his decision-making mistakes, the Yu family and Lu Xingheng became mortal enemies, and it was useless to please each other no matter what. Mr. Yu asked, "Is the press conference ready?" The confidant nodded. "It has been prepared according to your instructions. The big and small families will all be present, and the Mo family, the Feng family, the Qinjun League and the Tiandi League will also send people to come. The aristocratic alliance is also here." Old man Yu was surprised. "Okay. God really helped me." As a result, Yu Xian was completely notorious in the Great Xia Empire. Let's go to the press conference." Mr. Yu got up, and his confidants hurriedly followed behind him. The Yu family is indeed a great family, and the press conference was held in the Great Hall of 49 Towns. Before 1:30, the media had all arrived, and the major families had all taken their seats. Although some gossip had spread, they were still very curious about what the Yu family wanted to do with such a big battle. When they saw old man Yu appearing in front of them with his hands wrapped in bandages, everyone was stunned. "Mr. Yu has so many bodyguards, who can make him like this?" "Everyone, I'm Yu Rongji, and I had to invite everyone here on the weekend." Mr. Yu clapped the microphone and said in a sad tone, "It's all because I have no way to teach my son, and I feel ashamed. Apologize to everyone." The people in the audience were even more confused. "Using this time, I want to announce something," Elder Yu said coldly. "From today, Yu Xian is no longer my son, Yu Rongji, and I will remove him from the Yu family's genealogy. He won't get a cent of his property." When these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. The name Yu Xian is known to everyone in the 49 city celebrity circle, but it is not a good name. When it comes to him, the word trash cannot be avoided. Without the Yu family, Yu Xian would not be able to live. Why did he offend Mr. Yu? He maliciously sent people to Yu's house to make trouble. My arm was broken by the people he sent. The doctor said that it will never be recovered in this life, the old man Yu said coldly. His mother also passed out with anger. He's still in the intensive care unit, and the Yu family won't want such a heartless white-eyed wolf. The sound of click, click came one after another, and the media scrambled to take pictures. For them, the wealthy secrets are even more powerful than the entertainment gossip. My son has done a lot of evil, and he must be aware of his right and wrong, and has been avoiding me. Mr. Yu said again. I will trouble you to transfer my words to the internet as they are, so that he can see clearly at that time. No need at this time, a voice fell faintly, you can say it in front of me. The sound of the wheelchair rang, and everyone turned their heads. A man in a dark gray suit was sitting in a wheelchair, handsome and noble. Someone took a breath. This is the disabled ninth master from the Yu family. He looks too good looking. It's not like the Yu family. You see, old Master Yu and young Master Yu Yao have a copper stench that makes people sick to their stomachs. I don't believe he can do such a thing, there must be something tricky. The media were talking about it. After a few days, Mr. Yu finally saw Yu Zion again. Seeing that Yu Zion easily became the focus, his face turned cold. Do you still have the face? Trash who only hides behind women. Yu Zion raised her eyes slightly. If you want to see me so much, I don't come to you. Yu Zion, who do you think you are, old man? Yu sneered. I tell you, don't you think you can control anything when you come? You are just a yellow-haired child in front of me. Eat mine and use mine, and in the end, bite me and your mother in turn. You are such a good son. When he was young, he traveled south and north, and he had a lot of knowledge. Can Yu Zion compare? Yu Zion was not angry, he tapped his fingers and suddenly said, answer the phone. The old man Yu's movements stopped, and he only felt ridiculous. Are you ordering me? Everyone, you have also seen that he doesn't know how to respect his parents at all, he dash. His words were interrupted by the rapid ringing of the phone. Mr. Yu was stunned for a moment, and subconsciously pressed the answer button. Mr. Yu. The group's stock is falling sharply. Several companies are taking action against the group. The stock has fallen below 5 points, and it can't be stabilized. An anxious voice came from the mobile phone, and then spread throughout the entire hall through the microphone. The place was suddenly dead silent. Mr. Yu cut off the phone in time, and he smiled indifferently. These days, liars have tricked me. However, just after the sentence was finished, another phone call came in. Mr. Yu, HB Company wants to cancel the cooperation with us and ask us to pay the liquidated damages. Mr. Yu, the Morgan brand announced on the official website that it will no longer use our products. What's going on? President Yu, the group can't hold it anymore. From the first call to the last call, the duration did not exceed 5 minutes. Various media and people from other families were also shocked. They turned on their mobile phones and found that the Yu Group, which was still in its prime this morning, was boycotted by several international companies. In such a short period of time, the Yu Group directly evaporated 80 billion. The speed was unheard of, and no one even knew what was going on. There seemed to be an invisible hand behind the Yu Group's lifeline, which was then easily broken. On the second floor of the synagogue, Mo Yanwen stood with his hands behind his back, and suddenly said, Your Majesty once talked to me about the war at that time. He said that the barbarians in the past told him, what can you do as a yellow-haired child? Xiao Wenjian thought to himself that he had never read this piece of history in the history books. The history books only record that the barbarians, because of their strong physique, are very proud in their bones, and look down on the people of Daxia, thinking that only they are qualified to enter the central plains and live at the feet of the dragon veins. But in the end, it was completely suppressed by Emperor Yin and the soldiers of Wuzhu. Sure enough, no matter how many history books are, they are only records of later generations. Naturally, Emperor Yin, who had not experienced that era personally, knew much more. Xiao Wenjian asked for advice humbly, and asked, what happened later? Mo Yanwen smiled lightly, the barbarians are gone. Now, the Yu family is also gone. There is one more in the afternoon. Double monthly pass babies who have votes can vote. Rush rush. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 641. Seeing Mo Yan's warm and calm appearance, Xiao Wenjian's heart couldn't help but tremble. This is indeed something that Emperor Yin can do. 1500 years ago, the barbarians spread nonsense, invaded Bizhu, and insulted the common people. The barbarians are gone. 1500 years later, the Yu family used Yu Tang as a tool, and they kept themselves in a cocoon step by step, completely unaware of repentance. The Yu family is gone. What the Emperor Yin wants to do will surely succeed. Xiao Wenjian looked at the stunned old man Yu with pity. If the Yu family is safe and sound, at least it can last for a few more generations. But it's all self-inflicted and self-inflicted. The Yu family suddenly changed, and the entire group staff were caught off guard, not to mention the old man Yu who was at the press conference wholeheartedly. He couldn't stabilize his body, his image was completely lost, and he was completely lost. No. This is impossible. The Yu family is the #1 wealthy family in the Great Xia Empire, and the market value of the entire group is 800 billion. The market value is not the liquidity, but the total value of the stock. The market value of the top-ranked company in the Daxia Empire is more than 3 trillion. Occasionally, the stock fluctuates a few times, and it will also evaporate more than 1 billion yuan. But 80 billion in an instant, this is definitely the biggest blow that Yu's group has encountered in so many years of listing. No, it's not just 80 billion, Yu's group stock is still plummeting. Someone wants to make the Yu group completely collapse. What exactly is going on? Mr. Yu suddenly seemed to remember something. He raised his head in a panic, looked at Yu Zion suddenly, his lips trembled. Yu, it's you. Reason told him that Yu Zion had nothing to do with the evaporation of the Yu group's market value. But he didn't want to believe that Yu Zion had such ability. Yu Zion ignored him and said lightly, Feng San. Yes, brother Ninth, Feng San replied. He stepped forward, pushed the old man Yu away from the stage, and then asked the central control room to transfer some film and television texts. The information revealed all the dirty things that the Yu family had hidden for many years, including all kinds of trivial matters such as Yu Wen's derailment during pregnancy. Those who were invited to attend the press conference were stunned. How could the media miss such a good opportunity and start taking pictures like crazy? Feng San pointed to a running list again and sneered, did you see that since brother Ninth was 16, you haven't spent a penny for him, and you still want to cut off the economy? Who's going to cut it off? Remember, it's brother Ninth who decides the entire Yu family's economy. Yu Rongji, don't you really think you're in control of everything, right? The frog at the bottom of the well, defying no one, will eventually bring about its own demise. By the way, every penny you spent on him before the age of 16 is here. Feng San threw down a bank card, 200,000 yuan, I will pay you back with interest, but this 200,000 is not enough for your old lady to buy a third of a bag, right? A wealthy family in the Yu family only spent 200,000 yuan, which is too cruel. I heard that MRSU hates her young son very much, and tiger poison doesn't eat children. I didn't expect to be able to do such a thing. I was almost deceived by the old fox Yu Rongji, bah. The surrounding voices are getting louder and more pervasive. The old man Yu's body trembled violently, he took a few steps back, finally unable to support, fell to the ground, his ears buzzing. There were more click, click, click camera sounds, and Mr. Yu couldn't stop him at all, so he could only let these media take pictures of his ugly state. Compared with these embarrassment and humiliation, Mr. Yu is more unbelievable. In his impression, Yu Zion's presence was too low to be low, and he really loved his young son, but later his feelings became less and less. With Yu Yao, a grandson who made him very proud, he didn't take Yu Zion to heart anymore. Who can tell him now, how did Yu Zion destroy the entire Yu family in a wave of hands? Feng San said coldly, "You Rongji, you could have lived safely by guarding your 3 acres of land, but unfortunately, you didn't seize this opportunity. Since you want to die so much, let it be for you." Mr. Yu's face was pale, his lips were squirming, and he couldn't say a word. From the beginning to the end, Yu Zion's expression was calm and steady. He turned his head. "Feng San, go." Looking at the man's back, Mr. Yu's mind went blank at this moment. There was no thought in his mind, only the overwhelming remorse flooded his heart. #shock. A secret from a wealthy family, the abandoned son secretly counterattacked and broke the Yu family in one fell swoop. #Yujia, a century-old wealthy family, declared bankruptcy today. #Yuxihan. The media have always liked to exaggerate the facts to make gimmicks, but this time they don't need to render anything at all. They just need to truthfully disclose what they really want to do, which has already caused a shock on the entire network. Yu Zion also appeared in public for the first time. The man's eyebrows and eyes are sharp and restrained. He just sat there, like an emperor looking down on the world. This guy is handsome. The top men in the entertainment industry can't compare at all, right? Even among amateurs, there are also gods. I'm guilty. Obviously I was watching the Yu family's jokes, but I started to play cult CP. What cult CP? Come and listen. I'm worried that no one can match up with Goddess Si. Come on, everyone will watch the video I edited. These two are simply the ceiling of the strong face. Wow, when will they be in the same frame? Are all of you who knock CP this kind of devil speed? Feng San has been paying attention to the trend of public opinion, and was shocked to see these comments. Ninth brother, there is a CP super chat between you and Miss Si on the internet. When he secretly went to pay attention just now, he found that 10,000 people had already squeezed in. Sure enough, people who hit CP are very crazy. Yu Zion opened her eyes. CP super talk. It's a couple pairing, Feng San explained, because in the eyes of CP fans, you and Miss Si are both strong looking, and the two gods must be together. Brother Ju, you and Miss Si also have CP names. Called selfishness. Yu Zion propped her chin. So, there are other CP super words. It's a lot. Feng San looked at it. The first is Miss Si and Miss Zhang Changning's Zhang SICP, and the second is Miss Si and Young Master Xiaoyu. How come there are Miss Si and the head of the family? His heartbeat stopped suddenly, and he instantly looked at Yu Zion. Yu Zion didn't show any superfluous emotions. He raised his eyebrows gently and said unhurriedly, then try to put the selfish CP to the top of the list. Feng San choked and stammered, ninth brother, Zhang Sichao speaks to 1.5 million people, we don't even have enough of them. Yu Zion turned her head and looked at him lightly, that's how you act as a guard. Feng San's scalp was numb. I'm going to call on everyone to pay attention to Keahua, and let them post more data. He can do everything except being a bodyguard. On the other side, the first hospital. Under the continuous rescue of the medical staff, MRSU finally woke up. Yu Yao stepped forward and asked with concern, Grandma, how are you feeling? Madame Yu rolled her eyes. She took a few breaths, and her chest was filled with anger in an instant. Where's Yu Zion? Where's this villain? She originally disliked Yu Zion's son. If it wasn't for Yu Zion from the Yu family, the celebrity circle would not have his name. It was the Yu family who gave Yu Zion confidence. Grandma, you can rest in peace, Grandpa will take care of it, Yu Yao reassured. Ninth uncle is not that kind of person, he must have difficulties. MRSU was even more angry. Ayao, you don't need to explain for him, I should have strangled him when he was born. Yu Yao pursed his lips, and sure enough, He stopped talking. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door of the ward. Patients in room 908, your fee should be renewed, the nurse said. You can pay by logging into the hospital's official account, please do so as soon as possible. Yu Yao took out his mobile phone to pay the bill, but the system reminded him that the payment failed. Tried several times with no success. Yu Yao frowned and called his exclusive customer service at Daxia Bank. The customer service checked it and replied, Mr. Yu Yao, are you talking about these supplementary cards in your hand? I'm very sorry, these supplementary cards have been frozen. Yu Yao couldn't hear the words behind him, he was stunned in place, and his whole person was a little confused. He started his business early, but he didn't actually save much money over the years. Because he ran around looking for medicinal herbs, he spent all the money he earned on Ji Qingwei. After the Ji family disappeared from Sijukan, he naturally had no chance to collect debts. MRSU lives in the most luxurious ward, and her daily expenses are more than 30,000 yuan. Yu Yao was a little embarrassed, he was unable to pay the fee. MRSU noticed his changing face. Yao, what's the matter? Yu Yao woke up suddenly, he barely pulled the corner of his lower lip. Grandma, I have no money in my card, I'll go home to withdraw money. Okay, let's go. MRSU nodded, you are still sensible. Yu Yao hurried back to the Yu family's old house from the first hospital, but saw a group of people surrounding the Yu family's old house, moving things. He also saw Yu Wenhua's second wife lying on the ground, crying for these people not to take her jewelry and luggage away. Yu Yao was shocked and angry. Stop. What are you doing? This is the Yu family. His words made the team stop. The leader turned his head. Yu Yao recognized this face, it was the young man who broke into Yu's house that day. He was even more angry. You hurt my grandfather, do you still want to occupy the Yu family? Get out now. Shen Ying clicked his tongue. Master Yu Yao, don't you know? Yu Yao was taken aback. What do you know? Starting from today, there is no Yu family in Sijukan. Shen Ying clapped his hands. The Yu group has collapsed, and you can't repay the debt of Brother 9. I'm here to ask for the debt. Yu Yao's brain buzzed. What did you say? By the way, I forgot to say something last time. Shen Ying smiled slightly. Without the Yu family, you are nothing. How dare you compare yourself with Zhu Ji? Who gave you the confidence and courage? Double the monthly ticket, 1 vote and 2 votes, everyone vote. Regarding the reaction of the two male protagonists to the CP super words. Yu Zion, on the list. Fu Yunqian, all closed. 23,333. It will be interesting to link it up when I feel it. See you tomorrow.